Hi everybody, we're doing the transformations of functions today. This is Mrs. Dunn, and in this screencast, what I'm hoping you learn is, first of all, very briefly, how to identify the basic functions, both the equation and the graph. And then we're going to go through and we're going to graph the transformation of a function. And we're going to look at translations, reflections, stretchings, and shrinkings. It's a lot of information. I'm going to do this in two screencasts. In this first screencast, we're going to go through the lesson so we understand all these concepts. In the next screencast, I'll go through specific examples you're going to see in your homework. Okay, so lots to do. Let's get started. So first of all, you should know all of these functions. This is like a library of functions for us. The identity function, y equals x, the squaring function, which is y equals x squared, the square root function, which is y equals the square root of x, the cubing function, y equals x cubed, the cubed root function, y equals the cubed root of x, the reciprocal function, y equals 1 over x, and the absolute value function, y equals the absolute value of x. So if I give you an equation like y equals the absolute value of x, I expect you to know that the graph of that is going to be a v. If I give you y equals x squared, you should know that graph is going to be a u. So know these general shapes. All right, now let's get started. So we're first going to talk about vertical translations. Now get your calculator out because I want you to graph these functions. So I want you to graph x squared in one of the menu items, then x squared minus 8, then x squared plus 5. I'll do the first couple for you just to get you started in case you're unfamiliar with the calculator. So notice I typed on y equals to get to this screen, and I want to type x squared in here. So I'm going to type the x here, and since it's squared, I can use the squared key. Now to get to the next menu item, I'm going to use this arrow, down arrow key, and I'll type x squared minus 8. So that's x squared minus 8. And I also want to graph x squared plus 5. So that's x squared and then plus 5. And so you can look at your graphs. I have them here on the PowerPoint. So these are color-coded. That's the nice thing about the new calculators. But whether you have it color-coded or not, you can see what happens. So y equals x squared is graphed here in black. Y equals x squared, is graphed here in blue. I don't know why I said that. The black one is this black one, x squared plus 5. So this is the graph of x squared plus 5. This is the graph of y equals x squared, and this is the graph of y equals x squared minus 8. Take a minute to look at those graphs and think about what happened here. Do you have any conclusions? So remember, the parent function, and you'll see this in your homework a lot, the parent function is y equals x squared. So for example, the graph of x squared minus 8 is the graph of y equals x squared. It's this u, but it's shifted down 8 units. So it's the same shape. It's like somebody drew that u and you're just picking it up off the table and moving it down 8 units. All right, what happened with x squared plus 5? So that's the graph of y equals x squared, but it's shifted up 5 units. So, in conclusion, with these vertical translations, the graph of f of x plus b is going to be the graph of f of x shifted up b units. And if there's a minus sign here, it's going to be shifted down. Plus means up, minus means down. Now, you have to pay attention. Let me go back to that previous screen. Notice this x squared minus 8. No parentheses in this problem. Shifted up, shifted down. Minus sign down, plus sign up. Okay. So what I want you to do now is talk about horizontal translations. I'm going to do these two separately. So first we're going to graph y equals x cubed and y equals x minus 5x cubed. So I'm going to go back to my y equals key. I'll clear out the functions I had before. And this time I'm going to type x cubed. I use the caret button and a 3. Those of you with an older calculator, you do the same exact keystrokes. It just looks a little different for you. And I'll type x minus 5 in parentheses. Whoops, accidentally typed a plus. So a minus 5 and to the third power. And look at those graphs. So what happened? The parent function is y equals x cubed, graphed here. And then what happened to x minus 5 cubed? You can see it here in red. So which way was that shifted? You might have expected it to shift to the left, but it didn't. It shifted to the right. So the parent function, like I said, is y equals x cubed. But the graph of x minus 5 cubed is the graph of y equals x cubed shifted 5 units to the right. Notice it went to the right. Now, let's try this one. So this is a different function, the absolute value function. So I'll go back to y equals x. I'm going to clear out the ones that were there before. I'm going to put absolute value. I showed this in a previous screencast, but in case you missed it, press the math key and then use the right arrow to get to the NUM menu. And we want ABS. So I'll press enter. So it brings up my absolute value signs, and I'll put X. And then I'll do the same thing with X plus 6. And I'll put X plus 6 inside the absolute value symbols. All right, now look at these graphs. Now what happened? So the graph of the absolute value of x plus 6, the parent function is still absolute value, but this graph was shifted 6 units to the left. Notice it went to the left here. All right, so in summary, oops, sorry, I went too fast. In summary, a minus sign in the parentheses is shifting the graph to the right, and a plus sign in the parentheses is shifting the graph to the left. All right, the next thing we want to do is reflections. So we're going to talk about the square root function this time. So I'll clear these out. And if I want to type a square root function, second and x squared to pull up the square root, and I'll put x inside there. And then second square root. Oh, I went too fast. This one has to be negative. So remember, this is the negative key. Don't use this one. You'll get an error message. Use the negative sign. And then second square root. I'll put x inside there. And then I'll put a negative sign inside. And then look at your graphs. That's what they look like all at once. I separated them for this screencast. So this is the parent function. Here's the graph of negative square root of x, and here's the graph when the negative sign is on the inside. So this is the parent function. Notice when the negative sign is on the outside, it's reflected over the x-axis. And when the negative sign is on the inside, it's reflected over the y-axis. This is going to be a vertical reflection, and this one is a horizontal reflection. Okay, in summary, a negative sign on the outside reflects it over x, and negative sign on the inside reflects it over y. Great job. I'm going to continue with the rest of this on the next screencast. The screencast was getting a little too long.